Hello everyone. I'm Sean and this is Southern Audacity. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make this card. It's a Christmas card, obviously, using embroidery and fabric. And this is a card that I previously did that I just wanted to see how applique would look on a card. And I think that looks amazing. Just for your information, the design on the front of this card is from Planet Applique, and the design on the front of this card is from Designs by Juju. So you could check out their websites and see if you see anything that you like. The fabrics that I got, these are actually from Fat Quarters that I got from Walmart, and I'm in the Atlanta area. I'm sure they have the same prints or similar everywhere because after all, it is Walmart. But anyways, enough rambling. Let's get started, and it will be me showing you how I make this particular card. Okay, so for this project, I'm going to be using my 5x7 embroidery machine, which is the PE770 by Brother. This is a little bit older of a machine, but it's just the older version of what I believe now is being sold, the PE800. It is your single needle basic workhorse. It does work very well, and this is the machine I'll be using today. Oh, and also for this, I always use the thread stands. I got this off of Amazon, and I have one at this machine, and then I have one over at my VE2200. But this is a thread stand that's designed to hold the combs so that you don't have it going into your whatever. It helps it go thread into your machine better. But the thing about these, using the thread stand, you have to make sure that it is away from that wheel right there. You don't want it to be there. So I keep my thread stands in front of the machines so that I know that they're not going to be, the thread's not going to get looped up in there. I can't do this with one hand, but I'll thread it up through here. I keep it out this way in front of the machine instead of off to the side, and then it'll go through just as you would thread it if you were actually using a smaller spool of thread up here. Okay, so for this project, there are a few things that are a little different from my normal embroidery projects that you will need. First, because we're going to be making a greeting card with this, you're going to want to get you some greeting cards, whether they be the craft cards that you get. I got this pack at Michael's, and what is it by Doris? Okay, so these are the craft cards that I got, and they are the A7, and I guess they're 5x7. Yes, they're 5x7 craft cards. You get 50 of them for, I think I paid maybe $10 for them. I'm not sure. They weren't really crazy as far as price. They come flat, and you just fold them along the crease. And my son is playing video games, so you may hear a little shouting in the background, but I promise you no one is being hurt. But you're going to crease them. And then it also has the envelope as well. So you're getting, the card with the matching envelope. So you'll have those that you'll need. You sit these to the side. Sorry for that noise. And then you're also going to want, I'm going to use some craft felt, and I'm going to use this white felt with the glitter in it. And then I'm going to use some fabric. I'm going to use tearaway stabilizer for the hoop. For the back of the fabric, I'm going to be using 805 iron-on adhesive. It's the Wonder Under. And I bought this at Walmart. It wasn't very expensive, but I bought it at Walmart, and it works pretty well. I'm going to put that on the back of the fabric so that, number one, the fabric doesn't fray much after it's got the fuse on the back, and then the Wonder Under actually adheres to the greeting cards. So you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. And then this is something I don't use often, but I will be using the quilt basting spray just so that I can spray my stabilizer, and I'm going to put my felt on top of that. I'm not going to even need my fabric scissors too much, but get started. So I'm going to spray that just a little bit. I'm not really needing a lot. This has a little glitter in it, and that's why I want to use it. I don't know if you can see the glitter or not, but don't want that colored thread showing on the back side. I'm going to put this in the middle. My design is a 4x4 design, but I'm using a 5x7 hoop. So I'm going to fold it, find the center of the hoop, and line the centers up so that, you know, my center is at the center. And later on, when we get ready to trim it, you can use either your rotary cutter if you want to use that with your cutting mat, or just some scissors. But you will need something to cut this into a shape later. But anyways, now we've got the felt on top of here. It's not felt. Yes, it is. It's craft felt. We've got the felt on top of here. And now I've got a brain freeze. What is this called? Y'all know what this is called. Water soluble stabilizer. Goodness gracious, it's too late. And so I'm going to put this on top of this. And because I am going to need this to stay in place, I'm going to get some pins and I'm going to pin it down. Okay, so where are my pins at? Over here. And I'm hoping this is visible, but I'm just pinning outside of the solvy. The solvy goes on top. And you don't have to use craft felt. You could actually just use cotton fabric, or, you know, whatever fabric you want that will stitch pretty decent and show your design well. But I opt for this because I like the little glitter in the back. It reminds me of snow. So now I'm going to take this over to the machine and we'll get started. Okay, so I just looked at my design again, and I did not realize that the star in this design is an applique. So I had to find some yellow fabric to fill in that spot real quick. But I'm just going to thread this. I like the auto threaders that are on the Brothers. And it's all ready to go. I'm going to stitch out the placement stitch, which is going to be the placement stitch for the star. And I just really did go and just find some yellow fabric real quick so I can put in that spot. And then I'm gonna slide this in here. It's gonna put it down, not put it down, it's gonna tack it down so that I could go back and trim the fabric from around it. And now I'm on step number 2. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. This design is by Designs by Juju, and it is part of one of her Christmas sayings packs or something. She's got a bunch of different design packs where you get, you know, I don't know how many each one has, but you get more than 2 or 3 in each design pack. And I always catch them when she has a sale on her site. So anyways, I've got this star stitch. I'm going to go to the table, trim around that so that it can get cleaned up really good, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've got the star trimmed up. Now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and it's going to stitch step number 3, which is some of the leaves on the design that will be in this color green that I'm using. And then I'm going to see if I have a different color green that I want to use for the next set. So I'll just let that stitch out and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm ready for my next step. And this is what I mean when I say that the PE770 does not cut the jump stitches. So I do try to go through between each color change and trim those stitches just so that my needle doesn't get caught up in anything. So I'm going to change this to a different color green, which is a little bit darker. This is called TH green, but it's a it's Coats. I'm looking right at the Coats tag and I'm saying brother. Get that threaded. And I tend to pull back on this when I thread my machine because one time when I had it serviced, actually the last time I had it serviced, the guy who does the servicing at our shop, at the embroidery shop, says that you should pull back on the thread just a little bit to make sure that it does actually go through all the correct tension disc or through the tension disc correctly. So now I'm going to stitch step 4. And I'll be back. Okay, so I hope that you can hear me with the machine stitching in the background, but I went on and excuse me, got this ready. I have the 805, which is that Wonder Under, just adhered to the bottom, and you could barely see it. You can see a little bit, I guess. You can see a little of the shininess of it, and it's not really shiny as if you were putting heat and bond or something on it, but it does have a little shine to it. And I just went on and I did this whole strip because I will end up using most of this fabric for this same purpose. So when you do the 805, it's on a roll, and as you unroll it, you'll see that there's a smooth side on the outside and like a gritty side on the inside. This gritty part that's on the inside is what goes against the back side of your fabric. You want that on the back side so that you can iron it down. And you're turning it over, you're ironing it with the gritty side down. And a non-steaming iron, you want to turn your steam setting off and just do a dry press and then let it cool and then peel it. And it really does peel just like the heat and bond does, but it's not heat and bond. It will fuse a little bit, but it works good for paper. So I just wanted to let you know I went on and decided to get this done while the machine is stitching, and I will be back. Okay, so that step is done stitching, and I hope that you could hear what I was saying about the 805. And it's not that it doesn't adhere, it truly does adhere to fabric. It's designed for that, but it's not going to give you like a strong hold. I would not use 805 for patches or anything like that, okay? But if you're doing applique and you want something up under it to keep, or to ensure, I should say, that the fabric is going to lay flat against your shirt, that would actually work. But I wouldn't try to use it as the sole source of adhesion, you know, when you're talking about clothing or anything like that. So I'm just going through right now, clipping these jump stitches. And when I'm using this machine, I try not to pick a design that has so many jump stitches or so many color changes too, but it's okay. It is okay. Okay, so I'm going to put this back on the machine and we'll get the next colors going, which I believe will be red. Yes, red. Sorry, sometimes I have to talk to myself out loud. But I'm always pulling back to some degree. I'm pulling back on the thread. Okay, and we'll get the red stitched. Let me stop. That was not supposed to be red. That was supposed to be white. So I'm glad that I caught this early. And if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I truly try not to start over when I do make a mistake, I'm just going to try and correct it right then and keep it moving. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for my seam ripper, because I did not stitch too far. I didn't stitch a whole lot. So I'm going to come to the back side. I've got my seam ripper, and I'm going to go through the back seam of that red and take it out. And I was not trying to make a long video, but things happen, and this happened. So okay, I'm going to lay this on my table so that I can use both hands to actually try to get this last piece of thread out, and I will be right back. Okay, so I got all of the red thread picked out. This is why, even if you're not sewing and you're just doing embroidery, a seam ripper comes in handy. So let me take this red thread out of here and put the white thread in. Was wondering why I was at stitch number 5 and red is number 6. Alrighty, so we'll get the white stitching in. And it's not going to be real visible. It's just that the white is part of the candy cane. So it'll have a little bit of distinction, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference. I don't know. We'll see. This is actually the first time that I'm stitching this design, but I think I've said in other videos, there are a couple of digitizers that I never have a problem with their designs. And so if it's something that's not going to go on somebody's personal item, I don't do a test stitch on a lot of my designs. The first stitch is the test stitch, but not with other people's clothing. Okay, so now we are to where we need the red thread. Press your foot up to take your thread out, and always thread your machine with the pressure foot up. Now it's time for red. Is that okay? Red seems like it's in a knot. Yep. I've got to try to figure out how I go through and put my supply list within the video. I'm going to try to do that with this video. I'm not sure if it'll work or not. Let me put that up there. With these thread stands, you have to have your thread going through that hoop, or else the tension's not going to be as good as it should be. So the red part of this design is going to stitch, and I did not clip my jump stitches. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to just keep a good eye on it, but I'll check back in a minute. Okay, so we are down to the last color, and I am choosing this. It's a wheat color that is by Coats. The color is called Wheat, and it is, I don't remember what the number is, but anyways, we're at the last stretch of the stitching, and then when this gets done, I'll meet you over at the table and show you how I cut this and turn this into the feature of a card. Alrighty, so it's actually a new day. I let this finish stitching out and I went to bed. So here's the finished design. I'm going to take this off the hoop and start getting it ready to become part of this greeting card. I did go through and clip the jump stitches that were between all of the threads. There were jump stitches everywhere. And I do want to take the water-soluble stabilizer out of there. Try to pick out what you can. But for this, I'll show you in a minute what I do to get that from in between all those little tight spaces. Okay, so I have a spray bottle with some water in it that I use, and I'm going to go ahead and take this off of the hoop. And I'm going to take as much stabilizer off the back as I can, but I'm not going to worry too much about the stabilizer. I'm not going to worry about those jump stitches or anything on the back of that because it's all going to be glued down. I just want to take enough stabilizer off the back so that it would adhere to the card and I don't have to worry about it getting all wonky or falling off. Even though the cards are not going to be washed, you never know what might happen. And that's stuck on there good. I should have left that alone. Okay, so you get the gist of this. Now, let me move this out of the way, because the next thing I'm going to do is get it ready. Now, I was playing around with the fabric, trying to cut it and see how I wanted it to be. But here's my card. Obviously, this is too big just to be going on the card. So I'm going to trim it down to make it as square and even as possible. I'm going to get my cutting board, and this is just it's a Fiskars cutting board, and I got it at Joann Fabrics a while back. And I have a quilting ruler that I use as I call it a safety, but really it's, I guess you'd be using it to guide as well. So I just want to try to make sure everything is squared up. And then I want a very little bit over, not a whole lot over, just a little bit over. I'm going to open up my rotary cutter. And cut that off. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Try to make sure it's squared. And just leaving just a little bit past the design, going just a little bit past the design, because you don't want the design to be right on the very edge of the felt. Okay. And so now I need to kind of balance the sides out. And let's see here. I'm just lining this up on a line so that it's squared as I could possibly get it. And these rotary cutters are really sharp. This, I don't know what the brand this is. I have no idea. I can tell you that I did get this rotary cutter some years ago at Walmart, and I have a Fiskars blade in there now because I had to replace the blade. And as far as the balance of the size, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. You know, I've probably said it before, but the beauty about things that are handmade or homemade is that they're not going to be perfect. We are not machines creating the same thing over and over again. So there will be some slight variations in your handmade items. I'm just trying to get this corner off because that corner is gonna bother me. Okay. So always make sure you close your rotary cutter and put the safety on it. That is a very sharp blade. And I'm not done with it. I don't know why I threw it over there. So now I've got my card. I need to see where I want to put it. You could just, you know, go ahead and use just this part as your decoration for your card. And I don't think that would look terrible, but I'm not going to leave it like that. And I'm glad that I pulled this up because I forgot I needed to get rid of that extra stabilizer. So this is what I do to get rid of the extra stabilizer in between places like that, okay? Get you an old towel, spray bottle with some water in it. And this is just regular water. I keep this spray bottle over on a shelf, okay? And I spritz it down. Dab it. It does get a little sticky. Just spray that. Make sure it does actually get up out of there. And then while the towel is on top, I'm going to run the iron over it. I am going to let the steam come out in the iron just to make sure I can get a little bit more of that. And I don't know why I didn't think about it, because I just got a product in from All Stitch called Stitch and Heat, and it looks just like water soluble stabilizer, and it's designed for stuff like this. And this is what it looks like. It's wrapped up here, but this is Stitch and Heat, and it looks like a plastic bag. That's not an actual bag. It just looks like an opened up plastic bag. But this is designed so that when you have little designs like this, you use this on top as the covering, and you can actually iron it without having to do all that spritzing. And I completely forgot that I had got this in. I was just separating everything the other day. So next time I will use that. But now this is done. You do want to make sure it gets dry if you do spritz it. And now I'm going to be figuring out how I'm going to line this up and everything. So I had cut a couple of strips of this fabric. And remember, I have the 805 already on the back of it. And I was trying to figure out how I wanted this to go. And I think what I'll do, I want a little bit more red showing. I think what I'll do is I'll line it up like this. A little bit more red. And no, I'm not going to leave it like that, but just so you'll have an idea. Sit that over there. And now I'm going to clip these so that they're lined up with the centerpiece there. Clip it or roll it with the rotary cutter, actually. Get that cut. The colors aren't balanced as far as the blocks. I'm just going to roll with it right now. I'm not going to let my OCD get the best of me. And so this is lined up here. Cut that there. Cut that there. It's not quite even up here. Cut it a little bit. That's better. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. And if there's an easier way to do this, let me know. I am always open to suggestions. Okay, so I'll get those out of the way. Now, I think I'm going to do it just like this. It still seems like there's a little too much on the other one, but that's okay. We'll get it together. Let me move this out of the way. And I may make a mess, so I'm going to get a piece of paper. And this is just going to be some plain white copying paper, nothing fancy, that I'm going to just sit here just for the fact that I'm going to be making a little bit of a mess, or possibly making a mess. I do want that lined up there, so I think that'll be good. Okay, so where is my 805? I'm going to put some 805 on the back of that. And I should have, well, no, I shouldn't have done it earlier, but I want to make sure the block is smaller than the back of this here. Where did I do my scissors? Here we go. And I was going to glue this down. That's why I was thinking, oh, I'm going to make a mess. But I'm not going to bother using glue. I'm going to use this 805. And I'm going to turn the iron off of the steam setting. It's going to be a dry iron. And I'm going to iron this to the back of it. Now my other cards, I did actually glue the felt to the card. So I'm not sure if this will work. It is still a little bit damp there as well. But I'm not sure if this will work or not. So we're going to find out, okay? Out. Sorry, my dog is trying to come in here. Okay, sorry. I had to make sure my fur friend wasn't coming in here because I don't like her in here. So anyways, I've got the 805 on there. And so, I want to keep that for a second, just in case. So, I know I want that right there in the center because that's the feature part. And now I want to have these pieces on the sides, but I need to get that evened up a little bit more. So I'm just going to trim it a little bit and see if that helps. I'm not dealing with the rotary cutter right now. I'm going to sit that right there. And let's see how this looks over here. I'm going to tuck that in a little bit. They are not balanced as far as the colors are concerned. And this is going to be problem for me. That's not straight. Okay. I'm going to put that there. And you kind of see how it's gonna look when it's done. And the next thing I'm going to do is press on top of this. Now, there are a couple of things you can do if you decide to do something like this. You can use a towel, a handkerchief, paper towel, whatever, to put on top of it. I'm going to use a pressing sheet or Teflon sheet that I use for my heat presses, but I'm going to use this for my iron right now. And it's a dry iron. I'm going to sit this right on top. And the 805 actually does stick to the craft paper, or what are these, craft cards, I should say. Let's see here. And I probably pressed that for about 10 seconds. Maybe, no, it's probably longer than 10 seconds. But I'm going to press on the back side, which is the inside of the card as well, just to make sure it does melt the adhesive part of that. And it didn't melt it. Okay, so let's do this again, girl. Yeah, it's on there. Now I've got to try to tuck this under there again. I'm not redoing this card for this video. I'm going to just tuck it up under there and get it in there. Okay, so now I'm going to press without the Teflon. Does this not have? I wonder if I didn't put any on there. Okay, let me get some more of the 805 and make sure I have something on that fabric. That's weird. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to sit that there. So that's about all that I will need. I'm going to cut the rest of it off. Okay, I swore earlier in the video I actually did this while my machine was running. But this might have been an end piece that, I don't know, just didn't get it. But it's getting it now. Okay, so it definitely has the adhesive stuff on there. I'm going to let this cool just a little bit here. Okay, yeah, now I can feel the adhesive. So I didn't have any adhesive on it earlier. Wow. I really want this to be the point where I say cut and I redo all of this to make it look like all it's been perfect all along. I ain't got time for that. My voice is still a little bit funky sounding sometimes. And you definitely don't want the adhesive to be on top of your fabric because that's not going to be good. Now I'm going to tuck this again right there. And I've got to clean this one up as well. Now, had I already had adhesive on it the way I thought it was on it, it would have been a lot easier because I wouldn't be trimming this excess off. So I'm just trying to go around as close as I can and get all that extra off because I don't want it to be all over the card once I iron it again. Okay, so I'm going to tuck this in here. Okay, so let's try this again, girl. Just going to iron on top of it right there. And over here, it's on there now. That I am sure of. And so you see how when I ironed it, it kind of curved it. That's why I go back and I like to iron the back side, but I'm just going to iron the whole back of the card. And I guess the inside too, to try to flatten it out a little bit. I'm really not concerned with this here fraying up here. that's the area where the 805 did not completely get on that one top part. But this is how it looks. And it's unique, you know, it's not something that you're going to find on the shelves everywhere. And it's not a card that you have to risk someone else giving someone. So if you have time to make any of these using your embroidery machine, this is certainly something that you could try out. As far as the weight of it, it does alter the weight. So if you decide to mail these because they're a little bit heavier, I would take the first one or two to the post office just to see if they're going to be, you know, that far off from first class. But it still fits in the envelope just fine. There's no problem with that. And that's it. So I am going to be working on some other cards, not necessarily embroidery, some with just fabric, some with vinyl. So stick around, check back with me soon, because I will be doing some other different kind of cards for the holidays and for special occasions. Thanks for watching.